Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy, your co-host, Shaq. We're going to be talking UFC Vegas 29, the Korean Zombie versus Dan Ige. And Shaq, it's going down this Saturday night, tomorrow, in Las Vegas, Nevada, back at the Apex. You got one of the most exciting fighters in the history of the sport, the Korean Zombie, taking on the very hungry Dan Ige in what should be one hell of a main event, Shaq.
Yeah, man. I mean, after Dan Ige's last fight, I kind of had a feeling he was going to get a big fight. You go out there and knock guys out in, what was it, less than a minute, if I'm not mistaken, like, 40 seconds, something like that. I mean, you can expect to get a big fight. He had a good showing against Calvin Kattar in that main event in Abu Dhabi. I mean, he went 5 tough rounds. So, he's looking to redeem himself in this main event spot against Zombie. And, Zombie's one of my favorite fighters of all time. I mean, we know that this guy is gonna put himself on the line for the sake of the fans. Even if he gets out, look, for example, I know it might have been a stupid move in hindsight, but that Yair fight, I mean, one could say he would have probably won a decision, but my boy Zombie, he went out there on his shield, and unfortunately he got knocked out. And the last one he fought, looked spectacular in that fight. But I know Zombie's looking to bounce back and get back to some of those vicious knockouts like when he fought Moicano and Frankie.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. And I mean, Zombie's a guy that you can just not count out because, for example, the Yair fight, which you pointed to, he looked great in that fight, but then the finishing result was devastating. We were questioning, how's he going to bounce back? Well, the way he bounced back, knocks Moicano's head into the 5th row, destroys Frankie Edgar, and then he kind of has a little bit of an off night against Brian Ortega. Was it truly an off night? Was it a sign that maybe all the wars have started to catch up to him? That's what I really can't wait to find out, because I'm not quite ready to write off the Zombie just because of one bad performance. Now, if he makes it 2 bad performances in a row, that'll be a different story, but we still got to see that. And one thing I know about Dan Ige, he's hungry, man. He hits like a truck. He's got a good ground game. I just know this fight's going to be exciting, Shaq.
Yeah, 100%. And, in the co-main, we got, the young heavyweight submission grappler versus the old heavyweight submission grappler, man. So I'm excited about that one, too.
Yeah, I am as well, man. I mean, when you talk about Olenek, the guy's got 46 submissions on his record. He brought back the Ezekiel choke to MMA. But this kid, Spivak, is almost like a young version of Olenek. On his regional scene, he was tapping guys out with schoolyard headlocks. And in fact, I think that he might even look up to Olenek, because if you go through Spivak's Instagram page, Olenek's like liking all his pictures. And like, I think they may even have some kind of friendship. So it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out too.
Yeah, Aleksei's big bro to these young European heavyweights, man.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So obviously we're going to break down this whole card start to finish. Firstly, thank you to all our fans for being here. I know our normal time is Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern. My power went out, but the show must go on. So thank you all for being here with us right here, right now. Now we got to give a shout out to our sponsor, Manscaped, as usual. So guys, summer's coming. Are you ready to unveil your beach bod? You're in luck, because our friends at Manscaped just launched their 4th generation performance package, which includes the Lawnmower 4.0, which is what I'm holding in my hands right here. You heard that right, the 4.0. Complement your summer bod with a trim from the leaders in male grooming. The sun is shining and calling your name, fellas. Join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for hot guy summer by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the code BATTLE20. And guys, I mean, listen, we always talk about being ready for a short notice opportunity. And for example, you know how my power was out yesterday? Well, guess what? There's no excuses when you got the Lawnmower 4.0. It's got that badass LED light. So power, no power, I'm ready for any kind of opportunity that comes my way. And it just has to increase your confidence knowing that Manscaped's got your back like that. And guys, it's time to bundle up with Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. And inside this package, you'll receive their Lawnmower 4.0, which is what I'm holding. Also, the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, gotta shaping up for the summer. And the Crop Preserver ball deodorant. So no matter the occasion, you got to make sure you smell good down there. The Crop Reviver toner, the Performance Boxer briefs, which feel amazing, and a travel bag to hold your goodies. First off, the new Performance Package 4.0. It includes the new Lawnmower 4.0, and this trimmer is insane. And dare I say, the GOAT of ball trimmers. Yeah, I said it. Their 4th generation trimmers features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor and a new multi-function on-off switch, which can engage a travel lock. So, you put that in your suitcase when you go on that trip. It's not going to destroy any of your things. And it gives you the ability to turn on what I told you all about, the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. So power outage, no excuse. Did I mention this trimmer is waterproof too? In the shower or in the wild, from your chest to pubes all the way down to your ball throw, the Lawnmower 4.0 is the best trimmer for you. Want to take your grooming game even further to the next level? The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker to chop the worst weeds up top in your nose and ear. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and uses a 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360-degree rotary dual-blade system. And I just got to say how badass it is. And the nose and ear hair trimmer provides a proprietary skin-safe technology which helps prevent nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate spots. Seal the deal with Manscaped liquid formulations before heading outside. Use the Crop Preserver ball deodorant to keep you on your game in the heat. Then after trimming the lawn and whacking the weeds in the heat, give your beach balls a boost and use Crop Reviver. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Bring your comfort and boxers to another level. Now, get 20% off and free shipping with the code BATTLE20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code BATTLE20 at manscaped.com. Escape the shrubs and weeds this summer and shine with Manscaped, Shaq. So, y'all, if y'all ain't on Manscaped yet, go to manscaped.com. Use that code BATTLE20 for 20% off and free shipping. Shaq, you got anything to say about these badasses at Manscaped that have been taking care of us so well?
Yeah, man. I mean, if I had to make a comparison, I would just say, Manscaped's like dealing with the GSP or a Khabib, maybe a John Jones or something like that. So Manscaped's number one in the game, hands down.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, let's break down this whole card start to finish. And first up in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Laura Procopio. She's 7-1. She's taking on Casey O'Neill, Scotland's Casey O'Neill, who's 6-0. And I know Scotland's Paul Craig just got a big win over my favorite prospect, Jamal Hill, via submission. Casey O'Neill is also a submission specialist. So we'll see if she can follow suit. And currently, they got Laura Procopio minus 160. The comeback on Casey O'Neill is plus 150. So, listen, Laura Procopio, she's a Nova União black belt. She actually had a very good fight with Carol Hossa. It was a split decision. I personally thought that Carol Hossa definitely won the fight, but I respect the kind of effort that Procopio put up. And then in her next fight against Molly McCann, she dominated Molly McCann. And when we talk about Casey O'Neill, like I said, she's a submission specialist. You don't want to you don't want to be dominating her and then leave your arm in there and let her take it home, because she will do that. And in that fight with Molly McCann, even though it was a domination, even though I scored every round for Procopio, there were a couple moments. I know Shaq remembers that deep armbar that Molly McCann had, made all the Procopios better sweat. So the reason I bring that up is because in a fight like this, where I think that Laura is going to be dominating the majority of it, you just got to be careful of these little moments where she could potentially get finished with a submission along the way. So that's my only concern, but my pick is Laura Procopio to get it done, most likely via decision, Shaq.
Yeah, this is a tough one because O'Neill, she's a big girl, and I think she's got a good size advantage here. Laura Procopio, she is a 125er, but she even seems a little small for that weight class. I'm saying that because she fought Carol Erosa in her debut, and I liked what I saw from her in that fight. She had a good steady pace. She never backed up. I mean, she got dropped in that fight, kept going. So I had a lot of respect for Procopio. She backed that up against McCann. Look, I think O'Neill's a good prospect, and there's a chance that she might even be a better prospect than what a lot originally thought, or, maybe she lives up to that. But you know what? I just feel like Laura Procopio is currently more farther along. That fight with Shayna Dobson was a good pace that she set on her, and she definitely finished her. And I actually will respect that performance, even though it is Shayna Dobson. But at the same time, it is Shayna Dobson. So I just want to see a little bit more. So I'm gonna go with Laura Procopio, just because she's been in there with Carol Rosa, who I don't know if she's top 15 yet, but in my opinion, she will be at some point. And the fight with McCann was very experienced as well. So I just feel like she's had a tougher strength of schedule, and I think she's gonna get the win here just by being more active. And I'm not sure how many more fights she has than O'Neill, but it just seems like she's got more experience, just more farther along, better decision making. Even with, I mean, some of that in the O'Neal fight was just based on short toughness. I mean, Shayna Dobson, I mean, Daniel, is Shayna Dobson known for digging down deep? I mean, you tell me. So,
Does
I mean,
Shayna Dobson even have a 500 record? No, she
I,
doesn't.
exactly. So, hey, she did beat Agapova. I will take that back. She dug down deep there, but Agapova. I mean, that was one of the bigger stunts I've ever seen. Dobson beat the goat. Yeah, I mean, have you Tiger Bomb MMA? Have you seen Agapova since? I mean,
so big shout out to our boy Jay Weezy. He just donated $21 to the channel. He said, been watching faithfully for years. You guys deserve a bigger platform. Shout out Dan and Shaq. I'll be at UFC 264 live. Would be cool to link up with you guys in the future. Hey, thanks so much, Jay Weezy. That means so much to us that you support us like that, and really hope you enjoy 264. Is that the McGregor and Poirier card, Shaq? Is that in Vegas?
Yeah. Damn, Jay Weezy, are you a Weezy F Baby fan? Is that what the Weezy? I'm just kidding, but yeah, we appreciate that, and that is the Dustin Connor fight. Yeah.
So hold on, Jay Weezy, you from Louisiana? You supporting your boy Dustin Poirier? Is that what I'm hearing? Because we are too. So, you know what I mean? Much respect, man. Hey, thank you so much for supporting the channel. And one more thing, Brian Jameson said, "Let's go Sixers."
Hey,
listen, you all got two games to get it done, but I just don't think it's gonna happen.
It's over tonight, man. It's over tonight, bro.
I like that ice cold Trey shirt you got. So, they don't know shit about that. Listen, the thing is, you guys might have the better club, but we got the bigger heart. We are dogs, and we'll fight to the bitter end, and that's what's gonna happen tonight.
Philly's been doing a lot of Atlanta shit lately, man. I mean, they're blowing leads. I mean, they might need to change them to the Philadelphia Falcons or something like that, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, now y'all know how we feel. So welcome to our world, but we loyally still support our teams. Now, next up in the lightweight division, we got a matchup between Joaquin Neto BJJ Silva. He's 11-2. He's taking on Ricky Glenn, who's 21-6. So my boy Rick goes by Ricky now. Cool. Whatever. Joaquin is -130. The comeback on Ricky Glenn is +120. Shaq, I love this fight, man. I mean, two vets, two exciting fighters. I mean, Ricky Glenn is a guy that I know you remember when he beat Georgi Karakhanyan in the World Series of Fighting. That was a massive deal back in the day. He even won the World Series of Fighting belt, and he was the champion back then. And then he makes it to the UFC, had the fight of the night with Dunham. And Ricky Glenn is one of these guys that, offensively speaking, man, I love his Muay Thai. His kicks are super hard. He's long as hell, 6'1", and he's just a well-rounded guy. Good knees in the clinch. I mean, the guy's had 28 pro fights. I think that he's a real badass. And then Joaquin Silva, I love this guy too, man. He comes from Evolução Thai in Brazil. Obviously, they produced Francisco Trinaldo, who is such a beast. They produced Bruno Blindado Silva, who's fighting later on this card. So I just think this is going to be a great fight. Look, Joaquin Silva, he throws big bombs, and I think Ricky Glenn's probably going to throw the straighter shots. And oftentimes, I do think that the straighter shots beat the loopy shots. However, the issue here, I mentioned how Ricky Glenn offensively, I really like what I see. It's just defensively is where I have an issue. And what I mean by that is, it's not like Ricky Glenn is getting knocked out or anything like that, but he's one of these guys that he'll mark up easily. You can probably wobble him with some big shots. So even though he might have better technique than Joaquin, I think that Joaquin is going to kind of bruise him up a little bit down the stretch, start to mark up his face, and probably get a decision, but most likely, most likely get a decision, but possibly get a knockout along the way too. I wouldn't write that off. And then to take it a step further, his nickname is Neto BJJ. Don't sleep on his black belt. Yeah, I know you remember that knee bar he hit on Jared Gordon. Now he ended up finishing the fight by knockout, but he also he tore the guy's knee too. And Jared Gordon's a very tough guy. Jared wasn't going to tap. I'm going to go with Joaquin Silva, man. And I'm not worried about the big layoff on either side, man. These two guys are true vets, and they look like they're in fantastic shape. I just expect a great fight. I'm going to go with Joaquin Silva to win, Shaq.
Yeah, it's a tough fight. Rick Glenn, I mean, he's got some nice wins. Not only Karakhanyan, but he was the first guy to beat Gavin Tucker. He beat Dennis Bermudez. So, I mean, Rick Glenn's been there and done that. I'm a big fan of Neto BJJ. Always have been since his debut. I mean, look, Neto BJJ is one of these guys where I see him as I see this matchup favoring him, but there's got to be some concerns. You know, there's some concerns about the amount of damage that he was taking in some of those fights, and with that big, you know, muscly physique. I mean, look, his speed is definitely he's definitely not known for his speed or anything like that. You know, Neto BJJ, he's very stiff, he's very slow, and he kind of wins a lot of these fights, you know, on sheer heart, man. I mean, this guy, you know, is a paratrooper in the army, like. But in terms of, you know, how he looks versus how he's gonna fight, it's probably not gonna match up. Look, the Jared Gordon fight, that was a great win. But if I said that there wasn't a smorgasbord of trouble that presented itself in that fight, I mean, look, he got through it. Props to him. And then what about his fight with Reza Madadi? You know, another very close fight. A split decision. It was in Sweden, but I mean, look, Metal BJJ. He does slow down, you know. That I mean, he's got a lot of heart and he'll push through, but the punch speed, the defense, you know, all that stuff is probably gonna deter down the stretch. Oh, look, if Rick Glenn can pull off a comeback like he has in the past, that will necessarily wouldn't surprise me. My thing with Rick Glenn is that last fight, I don't know how to take that. I know Kevin Aguilar was like on a serious win streak at the time, and you know, he did also beat Barzola. He did also beat Barzola after that too, so you know that was probably the height of Kevin Aguilar's little run there. But you know, Rick Glenn, he missed weight for that fight. That was the first time I've really seen him get like. I mean, Rick Glenn is known for taking shots. I mean, that's what Rick Glenn is known for. I mean, you could hit this guy as hard as you possibly can, and it won't phase him. It's just I actually do think he's got like a nice high guard defensively. I think that last fight was more so. I mean, he missed weight by like 3 or 4 pounds, if I'm not mistaken, and he hasn't been since. But man, I heard Neto BJJ actually moved to America, like New Jersey or something like that, with Nicholas Mata. You know, my boy Nicholas Mata, with that Farah. And then, you know, I heard Rick Glenn was doing the home gym thing. You know, he left Alpha Male, and you know, he's back in where is he from? Somewhere out there. I want to say like Wisconsin or Iowa or something. So, but I'm gonna go with Neto BJJ. But I think it's gonna be a back and forth fight. You know, both guys coming off a layoff. Maybe both guys are gun shy. Both got. I mean, Neto took a nap in his last fight, and again got really busted up for like the first time. I mean, you know, when he loses like the Miles Jury fight, that was just more because you know Jury, you know, nice little dancer point fighter, and you know some of his other fights as well. But that last one was, who knows? Maybe it was a red flag.
There's always a chance. Now, next up in the heavyweight division, we got a matchup between Josh Parisian. He's 13-4. He's taking out Roque Martinez, who's 15-7. Currently, they got Josh Parisian minus 130. The comeback on Roque Martinez is plus 120. So I got to give Roque Martinez a lot of credit. You know, I know we joke around a lot on the show. I know we can be, or I can be harsh at times. I said that, you know, I'd rather see Roque Martinez battle obesity than I would see him fight someone in the octagon. Well, look, man. This guy, he lost a lot of weight. I saw him on the scales today. It looks like he's been starting to take things a little bit more seriously. So I'm happy. Now he should be in the octagon. It's just that, you know, I'm not quite sure if the skills are quite up to par. I know he's a tough and durable guy. I know he can get his butt whooped and keep going. It's just I'm not quite sure he's got the skills to win at this level. Josh Parisian, I know he's from the Michigan scene, but he is not boys with, you know, with Hill or with you know, with Big Dog Brett Martin or Khaos Williams. They're actually, I think they have a bit of a rivalry, but he still comes from that good scene in Michigan. I think that Parisian is just going to be the bigger, more physical guy here, and I think he gets his first UFC win here. Look, I understand he lost to Parker Porter. Parker Porter is a very experienced guy. So is Roque Martinez. I just see a little more skills on the Josh Parisian side. I think that he probably takes him down and has some good work on top. So I'm going to go Parisian and get this one done, my man.
Yeah, you know, Parisian had a good fight. And look, I just don't really – he just seems like that, you know – look, I'm not saying Parisian's much better, but Martinez, man, hey, he did beat Daun. You know, he beat Daun Jung back in the day.
He did.
He was Daun Jung's first loss.
205er though.
Yeah, but hey, that's a win on his resume. So he's beaten somebody before. It's just, yeah, man. I mean, he's very predictable. His game plan, I mean, it's just duck and chuck. I mean, he's a tough guy, but there's nothing special to that he brings to the table, like at all. Not saying that Parisian is anything, but look at Parisian's game. He's got some spins. He's got some kicks. He's got punches. It's clear that he has the more, well-rounded style. Look, the Parker Porter fight, I know he let a lot of people down. I know he was a big favorite in that fight, but I wasn't not saying that I wasn't surprised like how it turned out, but going into it, I thought it should have been like closer. Parker Porter, he fought my boy Dawkins in his debut. Dawkins is out here
on the regionals.
Exactly, like Parker just got. He didn't know what hit him that debut, man. Like Chris is out here putting dudes away in less than a couple of minutes, man. So, it didn't really. I feel like people are a little too hard on him coming into this spot. I think he's gonna get the win here, just keeping the distance. But I see it being probably a sloppy, shitty 3-round, heavyweight type of fight. Maybe Parisian. But Roque, he's just too tough, man. You're gonna have to really put him unconscious to get him out of there. But I'm gonna go with Parisian by decision.
Now, next up in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Khaos Williams. He's 11-2. He's taking on Matt Semi the Jedi Semelsberger, who's 8-2. Currently, they got Khaos Williams -140. The comeback on Matthew Semelsberger's +130. I love this fight, Shaq. Obviously, two very, very heavy hitters in Khaos Williams and Matt Semelsberger. Two very physical guys, two guys that can get the takedowns. And if you haven't been quite, showing up to your strength and conditioning days, these are not the guys that you want to fight, my friend. But here's the thing. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about Khaos Williams, that he's first rounder bust and this and that. I disagree with that, man. I thought that, his fight coming into the UFC, like the one right before when he fought Jeremy Holloway, I thought he dominated him, man. He showed he can win a 3-round decision, and it's not his fault that Alex Morano and Razak couldn't last even a minute with him. But then that next fight against Pereira, despite the loss, and I did score it for Pereira, but despite the loss, I still thought that Khaos showed that, hey, he's a competitive guy. He can go out there. He can fight tough for 3 rounds. So I do not think he's a first-rounder bust guy. And Semelsberger, not to discredit his level of competition, even though I'm about to do that, he fought Carlton minus, which, here's the reality. If you bet on Carlton minus, your account will be in the minus. And Jason Witt's chin rhymes with his name, if you know what I mean. So it's one of those situations where I don't take much from it, but the way he handled them, I'm impressed with. He handled them accordingly. They didn't have any moments of success against him. So Matt Semelsberger's been doing his thing. It's just that I think he's kind of running into the wrong guy at the wrong time right now, man. I think that Khaos Williams, I think he can match him in power and physicality, but more importantly, in experience. So I'm saying Khaos Williams either by knockout or by decision. Khaos is my pick.
Yeah, Semelsberger, he's looked good. The competition's definitely been lower than Khaos. It's not his fault at all. Khaos, look, there's obviously something there. He did beat Murano and Razak Al-Hassan. I don't think it's first round or bust. I think Michel Pereira is very underrated. I know he's got some bad losses to Tristan and Dusko, et cetera, a bunch of other guys. But I truly think that he's a better fighter than and Dhiego Sanchez and stuff like that. I truly think he's a better fighter than his record indicates. And I thought it was a good showing. Yeah, look, could Khaos have thrown more? But I think that'll all come. Now, from a betting side of things, look, this is where I feel like this could possibly be playing with fire. I don't have any reasons to fade Matthew Semelsberger. Matthew Semelsberger, has come out here and he's put away his guy. The first fight with Minus was on a day or 2 notice. That was a last-minute fight. And then he put on Jason Witt. We can sit here and say the competition was low and all that, but the odds makers sure didn't think so. He was a very slight favorite. Most people were worried about him getting wrestled and all this, stuff like that. And the fight was over quickly. So I feel like Matthew Semelsberger could possibly be better than some think. And this could possibly be a nice little 3-round back and forth fight. I still think Khaos is green in some areas. I'm interested to see how he comes back after that first L. But this is another thing with him is in the Pereira fight, the Razak Al-Hassan fight, yeah, those were first-round finishes. Let's see how he does in a 3-round fight. With another hard hitter, because I think Semelsberger, should. I don't know if he has that reputation like a Khaos or anything like that, but this dude definitely packs a punch, man. He's got a lot of power, football player. So let's see what happens, man.
Absolutely. Now, Next up in the strawweight division, a matchup I'm really looking forward to. We got Virna Jandiroba. She's 16-2. She's taking on Kanako Murata, who's 12-1. Currently, they got Virna Jandiroba minus 120. The comeback on Kanaka Murata is plus 110. So, Shaq, I mean, look, it's jiu-jitsu versus wrestling. Virna, very credentialed black belt, taking on Kanaka Murata, who is bread and potatoes with her wrestling. I mean, who do you think is better at their craft, and who do you think ultimately seals the victory?
Yeah, it's a tough fight because I feel like Murata has a higher ceiling. You know, Murata, she's got the strong judo. I know she's working on her stand up at in California somewhere. I forget the name of the gym. It's man, some people train there. I forget it, but she's been training in California. Her striking. I feel like. Honestly, man, I feel like I don't know if too many people are high on her, but I feel like if the striking can catch up with the strength and the grappling, man, you know, Murata, I see her winning a lot of fights now. Look, I have a lot of respect for Jandiroba. I mean, Jandiroba got thrown to the wolves first fight with Esparza, who's the #1 contender. She fought Mackenzie Dern, who I'm also very high on. In that Dern fight, man, I got to give a lot of credit to both girls because that was a dog fight, man. I mean, both girls were. I mean, chunks were flying up in the air. I mean, eyes were getting swollen. I mean, it was blood. I mean, the reporters were getting hit with blood. I mean, that was a dogfight, and I think Jandiroba. I think I agree with her being favored just because she's seen higher level competition. But in the back of my mind, I'm also thinking like I feel like she's an older Brazilian. You know, I feel like I'm not sure exactly how old is she. I'm guessing like 34 or 5 in that range.
My girl Virna?
Yeah.
She's 33.
Okay, 33, not that bad. But it just seems like athletically speaking that I see her hitting a wall at some point. You know, she does get a little fatigued in these fights, and I do feel like her striking is getting a little better as well. She can definitely take a punch. I see this being a close fight, man. Just a 1-1 going into the third round, and it's going to come down to who can get that takedown, who can get the better of that scramble, man. And I'm actually going to go with the is she from Japan?
Yes, she is.
I'm going to go with the Japanese Murata here. I got a lot of respect for Jandiroba, but I think the strength from Murata down the stretch is going to show, man. I think she's going to win the scrambles and the wrestling and in the third round. So I'm going to go with her for the win.
Yeah, I mean, look, I definitely got to respect the strength and the wrestling of Murata. It's just that I think Virna Jandiroba is just kind of on a different level grappling wise. But look, I am super biased towards jiu-jitsu fighters, and I think it might be a situation where Virna pulls guards, sweeps, and gets into dominant positions. And we know wrestlers don't like being on their backs. And I've seen a lot of positions that Murata's been in where, you know, better grapplers are gonna seal the deal. And I think that Virna is that better grappler. Now, I did see Rin Nakai tap out Murata, but then again, it was 2016, which is, you know, over half a decade ago, and you know, it was also up a weight class, so maybe we shouldn't put too much stock in it. But at the same time, that's not a good looking loss. But that doesn't matter here. I think that Virna Jandiroba is just more seasoned, man, and fought the better competition. And I like her jiu-jitsu game. I think it's very elite. I would not be surprised if she gets a submission here. But then again, you know, sometimes when you get two grapplers, they try to have a bang fest and see who the better striker is. And if that happens, I'm not sure, because Murata could be making improvements. I know Virna's
real quick though, sorry to cut you off. About speaking of Rin Nakai, you know, is it not a good look because she lost to Misha Tate and Leslie Smith? You know, Misha Tate's a former champ. You know, Leslie Smith beat Irene, Amanda Lemos, and and she beat, man, Leslie Smith's got some, and Jennifer Maya. Like, Leslie Smith's got some wins on her record, man. Leslie Smith's that girl that used to give out them first selves.
Leslie Smith is 12-9, but look, I think that I mean, look, you got a point. I mean, but at the same time, I mean, look, I personally, like, I thought that Rin Nakai was more of like a, you know, like putting on a show, wearing those funny costumes, and, you know, having those fights with the ref with the earpieces in Japan, comes over to the States, just does not translate.
You mean those fights like Fedor in them? No, I'm just kidding. Oops.
But yeah, so I just see this being a little bit different. And I'm very high on Virna Jandiroba's jiu-jitsu. So let's see what happens. Unless it turns into a striking fight, which then I'm not sure. If they go to their strengths, I got Virna via either submission or decision. Now, next up in the 205-pound division, we got a matchup between Aleksa Camur. He's 6-1. He's taking on Nick Nugemereano, who's 9-1. Currently, they got Aleksa Camur minus 230. The comeback on Nikolai Nugemereano is plus 210. So basically, the way I view this fight is that Aleksa Camur, he's a super green guy. And so is Nick Nugemereano. It's just that Aleksa has actually fought better competition, which is crazy to say when you're talking about, Justin Ledet, William Knight, or the water buffalo, Fabio Sharon. But I think that Aleksa's at least proved that, like, he can beat the guys that are about to get cut, which is kind of what I think Nikolai is. But here's my issue. Laying a big price like that on a guy like Aleksa Camur, who is super green, who, has a lot of holes in his game. And with Nugemereano, he got dominated by Safarov. That was 2 years ago. Maybe he comes back better. I mean, but look at the guys he's been fighting on his regional scene. It's very atrocious. I mean, it's okay to fight a guy with a 2-15 record, towards the beginning of your career, but 2 fights before his UFC debut, 2-15, 10-13, 12-41. You know what I'm saying? I'm not exaggerating. He fought a 12-41 guy a couple of fights ago. So I'm just not convinced he's seen that UFC level. Whereas Aleksa Camur, listen, man, he beat Ledet, which is good. I'm not sure. I'm not even convinced Nikolai could beat Justin Ledet. Had a tough fight with William Knight, beat the water buffalo. So I'm gonna go with Aleksa Camur. I just personally can't lay this price on a guy like that. He needs to prove himself a little more, but I think that he's got a little bit more physicality, a little more tools. I just think he's better. So I'll go with Aleksa Camur here.
Yeah, man, I differ a lot here, man. I think look, I think what's his name? I don't know how to say it. Nagamanu. Look, I feel like Nikolai, his debut, I feel like that was a nightmare. Safarov is a dirty Russian, and look, I don't think he was gonna win the fight, but I'm actually not convinced that Camur's fought tougher competition. He beat Charant, who, to be honest, like, Camur got rocked before that flying knee. Look, I've been very skeptical of Aleksa Camur from day one. And, the physicality, I disagree with that too, because, the Ledet fight, I just think that was more so he just Ledet makes his own soap, guys. Like, I his own deodorant. Like, I don't even have to get into all of that. But the William Knight fight was very alarming to me for the reason was I didn't see any heart in that fight. I felt like William Knight kind of just bullied him and had his way with him. I didn't see enough fight on the. Look, I don't consider William Knight a good fighter. Like, I like William Knight, but William Knight's got a lot of technical issues. Look, I like William Knight, man. I don't want to rag on him, but I don't see him lasting in the UFC, personally. Just look at his last fight. He looked like a fish out of water. I feel like Aleksa Camur, man, this line doesn't make any sense to me, man, to be quite honest. Like, I think it's just because he trains at Stipe's gym, but we want to talk about Nikolai's regional record. Go back and look at some of those Aleksa Camur Ohio regional fights, and he's got a lot to prove, man. Like I said, the Sharon fight, he got rocked right before that knee. Great knee, props to him. But Sharon, another guy, I'm not convinced. I think he's actually fighting William Knight, if I'm not mistaken, next. So we'll see. You see where all those guys are grouped at, and bottom dwellers, like low level. So I just feel like Nikolai is right up on, at least even with those guys. I felt like he showed toughness in that. Like, Safarov is mean, dude. Like, Safarov throws hard kicks, hard punches, a sambo master. Like, Camur is out here. William Knight ain't got. Not like, look. I just think it should be at least like minus 170. Like, let's not get out of what has this kid done? He landed a fluke knee. He has not backed up any performance since then. I seen Nikolai training with Chimaev and Guram and
so they can't fight for him.
But I'm expecting a better guy. I'm expecting a better guy that's gonna, after 2 years off, I expect a much better guy here. I don't think it's gonna go anywhere like that debut did. I have questions about Aleksa Camur's heart, his toughness. that William Knight fight looked like two guys that are going to be cut here within the year or so. I just didn't see any heart. The grappling, like William Knight's grappling in some of that in that fight, like he was reaching back for like. I was like, what the hell am I watching here, man? This is a UFC level fight, and guess what, guys? It's not. I got Nikolai Nagarmanu by, I'm gonna say by decision, just more tougher, more activity, just wanting it more than Aleksa Camur. So that's that fight. I wasn't impressed at all, man. I just felt like Ledet. I mean, Ledet hasn't been the same since that steroid suspension, man. It is
you
what
said Camur should be minus 170. So why do you favor him then?
Just because he has like 3 UFC fights. I mean, like that's it. Like that's why I think that it should be in that range. I don't think like minus 150 to 170. Like just because he fought, he fought Ledet and William Knight. Okay, big whoop. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh my God, those guys are so much tougher than Safarov. Like,
yeah, but it's like. Nugemereano fought a 2-15 guy and a 12-41 guy, so it's like the Ledet and William Knight and the Water Buffalo are like better than those guys. You know what I mean? But I do feel you on the line. I said that myself. I ain't laying no minus 250 on Aleksa Camur. You out your fucking mind? But it's like I don't have faith in Nikolai either. You know what I mean?
I mean, why would you? I mean, it's not about what you've seen. It's about line sometimes. It's just it's like when Vanessa Mello fought Sarah Moras. They're like, Vanessa Mello sucks though, and she's 10-8 in every single round. Shaq, I'm like, guys, this person should never, ever, 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 ever be minus 2 whatever. I feel the same way about Aleksa Camur. We'll see what happens on tomorrow though.
Absolutely. Now, next up in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Dhiego Lima. He's 15-8. He's taking on Matt the Immortal Brown, who's 22-18. Currently, they got Dhiego Lima minus 180. The comeback on Matt Brown is plus 168. So there's a lot of history here. Obviously, Matt Brown beat Diego's big brother, Douglas Lima, in someone's basement in Kennesaw, Georgia. If y'all ever get the chance to watch that Matt Brown versus Douglas Lima fight, it was an absolute crazy brawl, like 20 minutes from us. Man, it was such a good fight. And that was like over 10 years ago. So they had that history. And then I heard Matt Brown and Dhiego Lima actually trained for a little bit. So they're actually cool. They're friends. This is an interesting spot in both of their careers. Because look, Matt Brown, one of my all-time favorite fighters. I fucking love Matt Brown. How can you not? I mean, most finishes in welterweight history. It's just such an exciting fighter, especially in his prime. I mean, the things he did to Wonder Boy, to Douglas Lima, to Jordan Meehan, to Eric Silva, et cetera, et cetera. I love those performances. The Pete Sell fight, you guys got to watch that if you want to see violence. And then with Dhiego Lima, I think it was a case where when he first started off his UFC run, he kind of had the pressure of being Douglas's little bro, and I think he kind of faltered a little bit. His head wasn't on straight. I mean, he's got the body, he's got the big left hook, he's got the calf kicks, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I just think he didn't quite believe in himself. But it's interesting because he did 2 stints on The Ultimate Fighter, Dhiego did, and he's actually undefeated in the house. It's just when it came to the finals, he'd lose both of them. But in the house, Dhiego Lima is a problem. So maybe the Apex, he has a good result there. And I know that last fight, Bilal literally walked him down and did some stuff to him. But man, Dhiego, he could have looked for a way out in that fight, and he didn't. And I respect that. And he even, landed some nice low kicks. I saw those low kicks being effective in the Baeza fight. Listen, Matt Brown is one of my all-time favorite fighters, but Matt Brown is 40 years old. And even if I think he's got more heart, even if I think he's more aggressive, I just don't think that he can take the same damage that he used to be able to. And even in his prime, there were some question marks about how he takes these body shots. And he had never truly been knocked out by punches. I know a head kick by Donald Cerrone, but like he hadn't been knocked out by punches until the Baeza fight, if I'm not mistaken. And now I start to see that durability start to wane. Now Carlos Condit is putting on takedown clinics against my boy Matt Brown. I know Matt Brown would disagree with that. He thinks he won that fight. All respect to the legend. I'm going to just go with Dhiego Lima by being the younger, fresher guy. I think he chops him down with calf kicks and maybe finds a left hook finish along the way. If not, it'll be kind of a close decision. So I'm going to go Dhiego to get it done.
Yeah, I just don't see any how better this could go for Matt Brown. I think this is a lot for a lot of guys on this card. Actually, look, Father Time's it's coming upon them. He's 40 years old. He's fighting Dhiego Lima, who 500 I'm assuming he's got a 500 record or somewhere around there. But I do feel like the performances have been getting better. He knocked out Chad Lepre. He took care of business against Court McGee, who's a very tough guy, similar style, pressure, come forward, good cardio. And actually, Matt doesn't really have good cardio at this stage in his career. But yeah, Matt Brown, I just see all the skills diminishing, to be honest. I mean, look, I'm assuming he was already retired. He unretired. I'm assuming, because look, 6-figure paydays. I get it. It's hard to turn down. But he beat Ben Saunders, who, if you can't beat Ben Saunders, But then after that, man, the Baeza fight was a spirited performance. But we saw how that ended. And then like you said, now I feel like the rest of his skills are diminishing. The wrestling. Just his transition, he just staying on top, really not doing much. Conde, honestly, that was an old man fight between two faded legends, and Conde was chilling on his back for a good. And I do disagree with the 30-27 because when I heard the cards, I was actually surprised myself. I was like, damn, that was a 30-27. It seemed like it was 1-1, but hey, Matt didn't really do much on top, so I understand it for that way. But I see Dhiego Lima, honestly, might be one of the lock of the nights, man. I feel like there's just too many factors going in his favor. The youth, he's got different ways to win. Dhiego Lima can also been known to hit a couple of takedowns in his career. He can hit the switch up and start wrestling, man, and just make him tired. At 40 years old, his body can only take so much. His chin can only take so much. His legs can only take so much. His ribs, that soft midsection can only take so much. I just don't, unless Matt knocks him out with an elbow clean. But guys, when's the last time Dhiego Lima got knocked out? It's been a long time, man. I feel like we can trust this guy to at least, avoid a one-punch stiffening KO like how he did in the past. But at the same time, he was fighting guys like Tim Means and Jing Liang. I don't know if you saw what my boy Jing Liang did his last fight, but he put Ponzinibbio out stiff on the canvas. You know what I'm saying? But I think I got Dhiego Lima here. I'm actually saying about like an accumulation, like even though he's a low volume guy, I see the calf kicks, really becoming a big factor here. He landed a bunch against Bilal Muhammad in that fight, and I just don't see Matt Brown being able to handle that type of pain at this stage, man. Matt Brown was one of the better welterweights to do it, but he hasn't. If you like, what's his record in his last 8 or 9 fights?
He's 40 years old.
Exactly. So I'm gonna go with Dhiego Lima here by a vicious finish.
Oh shit, vicious finish. Let's see it. So next up in the middleweight division, we got a match between Wellington Turman. He's 16-4, and he's welcoming Bruno Blindado Silva, who's 19-6 to the UFC. So we've been waiting a long time for this debut, Shaq. Currently, they got Bruno Blindado -122. The comeback on Wellington Turman is +112. Guys, if you're expecting Bruno Bulldog Silva, you're expecting the wrong guy. This is up at 85s, and Bruno Blindado, he's a Brazilian fighter that trains at Evolucio Thai, with Francisco Trinaldo, with Joaquin Silva, and he went to Russia. He actually won the M1 belt. He beat Alexander Shlemenko by knockout, which is a huge deal. And then he beat Artem Frolov by 4th round knockout, which is also a huge deal. So those 2 wins right there were big. He had a lot of momentum going into his UFC debut against Duran Win. And then the bottom fell out from under him. You know what I mean? He tested positive for something. He's been out for 2 years. You and I were supposed to see his debut against Duran Win in South Carolina, but then it ended up being Duran Win versus Eric Spicely. They ended up getting fight of the night. So, there's a lot of questions about the layoff, about the USADA suspension, and then Wellington Turman, very good at taking the back. He's a young fighter. He's hungry. He's trying to get better. Now, if I'm going to bring up the 2-year USADA suspension, I also want to bring up that Wellington Turman, he mentioned in his interview that he had a severe case of COVID where it lasted 6 months, where he was dealing with all kinds of symptoms. So I don't know how he's going to look, but I just know that he's a young, hungry kid. So I do expect a better version of Wellington Turman, despite what happened in his last fight and despite the COVID thing. So here it's an interesting thing because in 2016, if you watch Bruno Silva's last fight, his last loss, Shaq, it was very alarming. It was he was easily getting taken down against a jobber too, wasn't getting back up, was gassing out, was doing all these things that you're like, man, what the hell? For a guy that trains at Evoluciao. And then after that fight, I don't know if he got a new doctor, if he changed his Flintstone vitamins, because he comes out those next few fights looking a lot bigger. His get-up game is on point now. So, look, the only things I'm worried about here on the Blindado side is if, the 2-year layoff, he comes in here with a lot of emotions. He gasses out. He starts giving up bad positions on the mat. Obviously, that's what I'm most worried about here. But aside from that, if you give me the guy that fought Artem Frolov and Alexander Shlemenko, or even a better version of that, I think that he can get back up to his feet, and I think that from there he's gonna put it on Wellington. One thing about Bruno is he's a very durable guy, and he fights with a lot of heart, with a lot of spirit, and he's gotten better. So hopefully we still see that version of him. Got questions with the 2-year layoff. Looks in great shape. We'll see what happens. I'm gonna go with Bruno Silva to get it done in his long-awaited UFC debut by knockout.
Yeah, this is a tough fight, man, because Turman, he's in a tough spot. He's a young kid, and look at his first 3 fights in the UFC, man. I mean, I respect this kid a lot. He's 22, 23 in that range. He's fighting. Roberson might not be the best, but I mean, Roberson's got a lot of experience. Marcus Perez, who's got some wins on his resume, and his last fight was Sanchez, who top 30, 40 guy. So. I think Wellington Turman, I feel like this honestly is a more doable matchup for him. Bruno Blindado Silva, yeah, he had a lot of hype coming in a couple years ago, but it's not a couple years ago. It's 2 years later. We know what happened. He had the USADA suspension. I actually do but I buy this thing. Like, when you look at some of those Russian fights, I think it's pretty clear that, like, Buddy was definitely on that sauce. And I feel like, maybe not to put like that much emphasis on it, but at the same time, man, he's got two whole years to figure out, how he's gonna, approach his situation in the UFC. So let's see. I looked at his Instagram. He's taking pictures with doctors and shit. So let's see how he let's see if he got any new methods or anything like that. But as far as Thurman goes, I actually think this kid's got a lot of potential, man. I just think he needs some better direction. I don't know if it's his coaching staff in Brazil, but when I look at him, I mean, the kid's strong as hell. Like his clinch on the back, like that's what I'm more so concerned with Bruno Silva. Is he going to be ready to grind in the clinch? Is he going to be ready? Is that cardio? Is that physical condition going to be ready for 3 hard rounds? Not saying that Wellington Thurman's this super pace pusher or anything like that, but he has been fighting more recently, and although he's got that COVID case, I mean, he is the much younger guy. I expect him to just power through things like that, man. He's still 25, if I'm not mistaken. I think he is. So yeah, man, I feel like this is going to be a back and forth fight. I feel like Blundau will probably touch him up in space. Wellington's very naive. He's very, that Sanchez fight, he kind of just had no respect for Andrew Sanchez. Andrew Sanchez never had a knockout, if I'm not mistaken, prior to that. But at the same time, Andrew Sanchez is a guy that's been in there with the likes of Marvin Vettori, Phil Hawes, Barry Alt. I mean, Sanchez is out there fighting, very tough guys. And although I give Blindau a lot of respect for fighting those Russians on his local scene, man, sometimes that can be inflated, man. Shlemenko is not the same guy that he was. I think at the time he beat him, he still had a little something left, but. Then apparently Nate Landwehr was beating Russians too. I'm just talking shit. But no, I'm gonna go with Wellington Thurman here, man. I think he's just gonna be the more physical guy, capitalize in the clinch, and just kind of scrape out a win by stalling out and being the stronger guy, getting the better of the grappling. We'll see if he can avoid the knockout this time, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's his path. And let me just say this, because on the topic of is Bruno going to look the same or not, so you mentioned the pictures he's been taking with doctors, and I'm going to mention this. That camp, they got a history of their guys. I mean, Trinaldo's like 44. He ain't been aging one bit,
Trinaldo actually left there. He lives in Miami now.
What's he doing there? But look, he was still there in his 40s. You know what I mean? So he was still kicking ass while he was there. So it's one of those things where those guys know about anti-aging. So I'm very curious to see if Bruno looks like the guy that I saw in Russia, because I get the joke about Landwehr, because Landwehr was fighting kind of lower level guys, but Bruno knocked out Shlemenko and Frolov. That was like Frolov was the fucking M1 champ. So We'll see. We'll see what happens. Next up in the featherweight division, we got a matchup between Julian Erosa. He's 25-8. He's taking on Sungwoo Choi, who's 9-3. Currently, they got Sungwoo Choi minus 140. The comeback on Julian Erosa's plus 130. So, man, Sungwoo Choi, you already know, bro. He's had to swim with the Sharks since day one. I mean, when they give you your UFC debut and it's like, hey, here's Mosar Evloev, and then your very next fight, you fight Gavin Tucker. I mean, yeah, it's tough luck, but man, goes in there against a Suman Mokhtarian, destroys him, and people are giving him shit for going to decision. Guys, one thing about Suman, he might not have many skills, but he's good at getting that butt whooped. I mean, even in that Sodiq fight, he didn't go down. It was a standing TKO, so Suman can take a whooping. And then that next fight against Zalal, people think Zalal's this hot prospect, and Choi showed the goods in that fight. So now I'm curious, Shaq, because I know Erosa's he's paid his dues. He's such an experienced guy. He's getting these big wins now. Do you think Erosa can set him back, or is Choi finally, reaching his potential here?
Yeah, this is a good fight, man. This is one of the fights I'm looking forward to the most because I feel like Choi honestly has a lot of untapped potential. I mean, just look at the size of this kid for 45. I mean, and just look at him. I mean, he's got good technique, like just good fundamentals with his Thai boxing. Like his takedown defense is getting better. We saw in the last fight, he even hit a takedown of his own. I truly believe that the Masvidal fight was almost detrimental for the Tucker fight because, I mean, when you watch that Masvidal fight, Masvidal literally grinded him in a way. And, he also kicked him in the head while he was down, too. Masvidal lost the point for that. So, that was a nightmare fight for my boy Sungwoo Choi. He got beat up, and I think the Tucker fight fought another black belt. I feel like it kind of just trickled over into that one. But he bounced back nicely. Look, Erosa has been doing this thing. I mean, I got a lot of respect for Julian. I should have had a lot more respect for him for a while, just because look at his strength of schedule, man. I mean, we're talking about Jamal Emmers that he knocked out. He's been in there with Grant Dawson. He's been in there with Devontae Smith. He's been in there with, if I want to say Landwehr, he's been in there with a lot of good guys. There's a couple. There was one more I'm missing. I just can't think of it right now. But Julian Erosa is a very tough guy, long. We know his weakness is that he does get wobbled. He does get dropped. He fights with his hands down. I actually think the Landwehr fight, I can't necessarily consider that a drop. I know a lot of people were saying Landwehr dropped him. I rewatched it. It was brief. He fell. It was brief, but look, Nate Landwehr, I don't consider that guy anywhere near the level of striker, technique-wise, power, physicality as Sungwoo Choi, at all. Nate Landwehr, I mean, from what we can see, guys can time the knees on him very easily. Look, Nate Landwehr was just severely overhyped. I remember when Nate Landwehr, Masvidal, that was a real beef at one point. Man, thank God for his sake that never happened. But as far as Julian Erosa, look, Julian's a dog. He's tough. He will fight with his heart. He moves forward. I have a lot of respect for him. But at the same time, I think Sungwoo Choi has – the way I'm seeing his progression is I think that now he's more comfortable here. He's got another camp. I mean, just look at the size of him again, man. I have a feeling that this guy's going to start being more comfortable, just letting his strikes, letting his offense go more, just feeling more comfortable in there. And I see this being more of a 3-round fight than, a sloppy brawl like Erosa's last 2 fights against an inexperienced kid named Sean Woodson and an overrated guy named Nate Landwehr. I think in this fight, he's just going to be outmatched here, man. I just think when they stand toe-to-toe, the technique difference, the defense, the strength in the clinch, I feel like he's going to have to fight more aspects like in the clinch and things like that. So I'm going to go with Sungwoo Choi. I'm not saying he should be a bigger favorite, but I just feel like he is the more higher ceiling fighter, man. I know Julian, everyone loves Juicy J. The juice is loose. I get it. You know what I'm saying? They're going crazy because Juicy's had a tough road, man. The kid takes tough fight after tough fight after tough fight, and I got nothing but respect for him. But let's not forget that this guy is somewhat of a liability. Sungwoo Choi is not a liability. Sungwoo Choi was just a little overmatched in the grappling in those first 2 fights. I think he comes out here, and I think he puts a clinic on Erosa on Saturday.
Got to give a shout out to our boy, Nicholas West. Thank you so much for donating $10 to the channel, man. That truly means a lot to us.
My boy, Nick.
That you do that. So thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. And I agree with you, Shaq. I got Sungwoo Choi here too. Look, Now, y'all can give me shit because I do tend to pick against not Landwehr, but Erosa in like every single fight. So maybe I'm biased against him, but I really do respect him a lot. I think he's super tough. I think he's paid his dues. I mean, the guy has, over 30 fights, and he really is a badass. He's pretty damn skilled everywhere. The only issue with him is that he fights with his hands down. His chin ain't quite the best. He's been knocked out multiple times. He's been knocked down a bunch of times as well. And that's the big concern here, because Sungwoo Choi, I know those first two fights didn't go his way against, two top 15 opponents, but now, we're taking those step backs and we're seeing how he's performing. He did great against Zalal. He's a very physical guy, because one thing Julian Erosa that he usually has going for him, man, is that he's the big guy, right? He's the 6'1" guy, but he's kind of skinny, right? But now with Sungwoo Choi, he can match that height, but he's got the mass too, man. So he's a very physical guy. And as he starts to, get a little bit older, as he starts to mature, I think we're going to start to see some better performances from him. So I'm going to go with Sungwoo Choi to get the biggest win of his career and also have the best performance of his career. So Sungwoo Choi is my pick. Featured bout in the bantamweight division. We got a rematch, a long time in the making, Shaq. We got Marlon Chito Vera. He's 18-7, and he's taking on dangerous Davey Grant, who was 11-4. Currently, they got Marlon Chito Vera. Well, it depends where you look, because now I see minus 200s. I'm starting to see a little minus 185, so we're starting to get below the minus 200 mark. The comeback on Davey Grant is plus 165, so Shaq, I know you remember damn well when they fought the first time. I mean, we were talking about a Chito Vera that was training in Ecuador. He was so green, but he still had that fighting spirit. Then you remember Mark Goddard deducting points, like separating them in the middle of leg lock attempts. A lot of unfortunate shit happened. It was in the UK as well. But, man, since that point, look how far these guys have come along, man. I mean, Chito Vera, that fight was literally the catalyst and the turning point where he decided that, hey, it's time to move to the United States. And since that point, look at the fucking run he's on. I believe he's 9-4 since he moved to the States, and he's a ranked fighter now. So literally his move was the best thing he's ever done for his career. And Davey Grant, man, for a guy that we were saying is on his way out, that last performance against Martinez specifically, like, I was really impressed with that. And I know that he got dropped at one point in that fight, but aside from that, I thought he was taking it to Martinez, man. I thought his footwork looked impressive. I thought his hands were on point. And I thought he had that never say die attitude. So I was super impressed with how Davey Grant looked in that Jonathan Martinez fight, man. And, he's a stud, man. He's hungry. And Chito Vera, he won a round against Aldo. Not a lot of people can say that they won a round against Aldo. That's just facts, right? You got to be elite to win a round against Aldo. Now, as far as these two are concerned, man, I see it being a competitive fight. It's just that, Davey Grant did get dropped his last two fights, but, you can maybe maneuver and weasel around and come back against, Martin Day and Jonathan Martinez, who I respect Jonathan Martinez a lot. He's a stud. It's just one thing that Marlon Chito Vera is truly known for is that killer instinct. And if he drops you, I don't think he's going to let you off the hook. I think he's the guy that just has that killer instinct to go in there and finish the fight. So I see it being competitive until Vera hurts Grant. And from there, I see a Vera finish. So I think Marlon Chito Vera avenges this loss and gets back on a win streak.
Yeah, this is a good fight. Davey Grant from the UK. I mean, he's been doing his thing. I remember the first fight in the O2. I mean, Davey definitely gave him a vet lesson, definitely sent him back to Ecuador with a beating, that was for sure. But look, man, Davey Grant, the pop-off fight was all right, but the last two definitely, man. Look, the dude's fighting with spirit, man. I mean, the Davey Grant I used to know was just a guy who got tapped out by Stasiak. Manny Bermudez ran through him. That was, Davey's always out. I mean, he really wasn't active much, but, he actually kind of brought some light. He said that he would, for the first, part of that career, dude said he was just injured half the time, and he would just, get in there because you got to pay the bills at some point, so, you got to get in there. And, man, so maybe he's healthy, maybe he's fighting a lot better. Look, he's got an awkward boxing style footwork. It's kind of hard to pick up on. I'm not gonna lie. At least the last two dudes, Martinez and Day, were kind of confused by it. But just when I think of the task here that Marlon Vera has, look, Davey Grant has shown that he's got power in his hands. We know he's actually one of the UK guys that can wrestle. But if there's a few guys, especially in the bantamweight division, that you can count on to not get knocked out stiff, I think Marlon Vera's got to be like top 2, 3 on that list in just terms of who can take damage. I mean, I've seen Marlon Vera take shots where I was like, God damn. Like, how is this kid still standing? When he fought John Lineker, when he fought, juiced up D Silva, D Andrade in Brazil, when he fought Song. I mean, he ate some big shots there. O'Malley, like, when it comes to taking shots, now look, of course, you don't want to purposely go in here and take a shot on the chin from Davey Grant, but if he so happens to take one, I'm very confident that he won't go unconscious and that he'll just keep going. It's just been too many shots. I'm not convinced that Davey Grant has more power now. I think he might have some tricky little setups that he's been catching these guys with the last 2 fights. So we'll see if Marlon. But I have confidence in the coaching staff. Jason Perillo. I mean, I don't really hype up too many coaches, but Perillo is one of the few that I actually. I mean, like Perillo is a stamped motherfucker, like Bisping, BJ Penn.
Look what he did with McKenzie, bro.
Tito Ortiz, McKenzie, like, I mean, this dude, like, Perillo has a championship track record. So I'm gonna go with Marlon Vera in this one too. Now, from a betting side of things, look, is this the best point of Davey Grant's career? Yes. Have the last 2 knockouts been spectacular? Yes. Is this the time to fade him? Who knows, man? Minus 200 against when he's at the best stage in his career. Who knows? We'll see. But I agree. I think that when Marlon Vera does hurt him, he will probably capitalize. But at the same time, Vera has played with fire in some fights. But it seems like lately that he's starting to take care of guys that he should take care of. We haven't really seen like a letdown like the D Silva D Andrade fight. I think that was like his last. He pretty much beats who he's supposed to beat, and he loses to who he's supposed to. The Aldo fight, Jose Aldo. I mean, Aldo still looks. Aldo, man. I was trying to tell him, man, Aldo still looks good, man. He still got some fight in him. I'm excited for that Pedro Munoz fight coming up. We'll see who wins that one. But I mean,
is that a 3-round or a 5-round fight?
I think it's 3.
Okay, so that favors Aldo right there.
That's going to be a close fight. But yeah, man, I think I'm going to go with Marlon Vera to get this done. But I got a lot of respect for Dangerous Davey, man. He's dangerous. I mean, when he knocked out Martinez, I ain't going to lie, I jumped out of my seat, man. I was like, holy shit, like that was impressive.
It really was, man. Co-main event of the evening in the heavyweight division. We got Aleksei, the boa constrictor Oleinik. He's 59-15. He's taking on Serhei, the polar bear Spivak, who's 12-2. Currently, they got Serhei Spivak minus 225. The comeback on Aleksei Oleinik is plus 190. So like I said at the beginning of the show, this is an interesting kind of fight because firstly, Shaq, there's an 18-year age gap here. Aleksei is 18 years old because normally we talk about a 10-year age gap. Here we're talking about a goddamn near 20-year age gap. So that's really interesting. And then on the other hand, they kind of got similar styles, man. Like Aleksei Oleinik, he brought back the Ezekiel choke to MMA. He brought the schoolyard headlock to MMA. But then you look at Sergei's fights on the regional scene, he's going out there doing similar things. He's schoolyard headlocking his guys. So, and to take it a step further, you bring Serhei Spivak, this young kid in the UFC, and in 2 of his first 3 fights, he fights top 15 guys. He fought Walt Harris. I know he got ran through, but hey, for an introduction to the UFC, then he fights Tai Tuivasa in Australia, I believe, or New Zealand. Submits him, then has to fight Marcin Tybura, who's on the biggest streak of his life. And man, since that point, I just feel like he's separated himself from the pack. Like the Jared Vanderos, the Carlos Felipes, who I think are solid fighters, but are kind of quiet.
Don't disrespect my boy Carlos Felipe like that.
To disrespect him by saying he's a solid fighter.
No,
he's a solid fighter.
I'm just talking shit.
But like, Vandera and Felipe, they're solid fighters, but I feel like Serhei kind of separated himself from the pack that, hey, he can actually be a top 15 guy. So now my question for you, Shaq, is he ready to pass this test? Because Aleksei Oleinik, I mean, we're talking about a guy that finished Mirko Krokop. We're talking about a guy that beat Fabricio Werdum. We're talking about a guy who's got 46 submissions on his record, right? But Serhei Spivak, he's paid his dues, man. 5 tough UFC fights. You think he's ready to pass the biggest test of his career here?
Man, I think, the fans kind of get the feeling how I feel about Sir. I mean, every chance I get, I have to, give a Spivak reference because I'm very, very impressed with this guy, Daniel. I mean, we saw his regional fights before he fought Walt Harris. He was fighting Tony Lopez and some what's the other jobber heavyweight, Linderman or Fulton or one of them those jobber heavyweights, Dion Starring. Who I'm talking about. But like, I think he gets ran through in that fight. You want to talk about answering the call, man. You want to talk about being put in a corner. And I mean, after that fight, you would think he would probably try to get like somebody on his level. This dude takes a fight with a ranked guy again in New Zealand, Australia, wherever, in title. He lost his home country and goes out there and gets the win. I mean, shows that he can make adjustments. When you see that fight start out, his calf got smashed with the first low kick, and what did he do? He made the adjustment. He started catching the kick, and then he started getting the takedowns, and it was game, set, match. After that, we turned that into look, there's no shame in getting a vet lesson from my boy Marcin Tybura. Look at Marcin Tybura is out here on a 5-6 fight win streak. I mean, looking the best he ever has since the Sakai fight. My boy Marcin is out here whooping these dudes up, man. So there's no shame in taking a vet lesson at 23, 24 to Marcin Tybura. You just take it on and you move on. You want to talk about answering the call again, you get matched up with Carlos Boy Felipe, one of the higher volume punchers at heavyweight. And I mean, not only did he somewhat beat Carlos Boy Felipe at his own game in that first round, but what happened? He made another adjustment. He in that third round, when it's 1-1, then he come out with a 10-8 third round. And then you already know what happened to my boy Jared Vandera. And that was another reason why I didn't want to write Jared Vandera off going into the
Tafa.
Justin Tafa fight. Yeah, my bad. The Justin Tafa fight was because he fought Spivak, man. Spivak is dialed in right now. And Aleksei, I remember cashing a plus 335 on this guy against Jared Roshaw back in the day. Back when Jared Roshaw was like the big prospect at heavyweight. And I mean, I love Aleksei, but that last fight with Chris Daukaus pretty much let me know. I actually had a bet on Chris Daukaus, but it showed me I showed him a little bit too much respect, because when you when you don't look at his resume and just look at the fighting and don't look at the guys he's been in there with, the fighting, the skills, just the way he's going about his performances are getting worse. He's not evolving at all. And I mean, look, this is what you expect from a guy with how many fights? I mean, he's fought in 3 different decades. Aleksei Olenek has had a great career. I think it's coming to an end here very, very soon. I'm not going to say it's this weekend here to Sergey Spivak. Hopefully, they let him go out with the win, or maybe re-sign Maurice Green so we can sub him, go out with the win, or Stefan Struve, somebody, I don't know.
Or tell Curtis Millender to put on a couple pounds.
Yeah, Curtis Millender, hey buddy, come in at 220 and let my boy Olenek come sub you from bottom real quick. But I think dude, I just think this is, I don't see, like, kind of similar to Matt Brown, I just don't see where this can go for these guys. You've fought all these fights, you've had great careers, you guys are, somewhat mini legends of the game, man. But now it's time to pass the torch over to these 18 years younger guys. And the reason I like this matchup, man, is the grappling side of things. I think it's all getting shut down, man. I think Spivak can grapple with him straight up. Like, I think Spivak, I mean, if he wants to grapple, let's grapple, if he wants to box, let's box. He's coming with the ugly, loopy punches. I feel like Spivak's shown the way he's performing in these fights that no matter what adversity presents itself, man, that he can deal with it. I mean, this guy's been put in the real deep end at heavyweight. So, yeah, I think he's going to come out here and honestly just, like, ground and pound him or knock. I know he's not known for his, like, one-punch knockouts, but, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if it happened here. It is heavyweight. But where I really see this fight going, I see him actually beating him at his own game. I mean, like, just when they clinch, you're going to see a much stronger guy. The Ezekiels, we know. I mean, Spivak knows that game. He's from Moldova. I'm sure he went to Aleksei's, a couple seminars, man. I mean, he probably watched Aleksei as a kid, man. He knows everything. This dude probably knows that. Half his moves are from Aleksei. I got Spivak for the win here. I hope him and Aleksei can hug and raise his hand in the middle of the cage and all that good stuff, man.
Yeah, I mean, look, I love Aleksei, such a legend, such a badass. It's just, kind of a passing of the torch fight, the 18-year age gap. I really don't have much to add to what Shaq said. I kind of think that they have similar styles. It's just one guy's 18 years younger, and he's paid his dues in the UFC already in these 5 fights. And, Aleksei is towards the end of his career. So hopefully he doesn't get hurt too bad. He can come back, get a nice retirement fight. I just don't think this is going to be it. And I got to go with Spivak as well. Main event of the evening in the featherweight division, we got the Korean zombie, Chan Sung Jung. He's 16-6. He's taking on Dan 50K Ige, who's 15-3. Currently, they got Dan Ige minus 125. The comeback on Chan Sung Jung is plus 105. This is a really tough fight for me to call, Shaq. And the reason why is this. So I'm not ready to count out the Korean zombie just because of one bad performance. Now, it's just a question of, was that a sign of things to come that, he's taking too much damage and now he's going to have more letdowns, or did he just have a bad flight to Abu Dhabi? I know it's, fighting at 4 a.m. must be tough, and also he fought Ortega, who's the number one contender who, is about to fight Volkanovski, right? So, I'm just not ready to count out the zombie, because there's been times where, he lost to Aldo and people count him out. He comes back, wins the next fight. The fight with Yair, he's looking great. The fight, he gets starched badly.
Zombie's been starched and come back plenty of times.
Yeah, so I just I'm not trying to count out a guy like Zombie at all, man. I still think that he can surprise a lot of people. My issue is this, man. So obviously Danny has been looking fantastic. He's been doing his thing. But man, I heard their media day interviews and I was really wanting to come in here picking Zombie because I think it's this possibly a 50-50 fight. I don't like what I heard from Zombie, man. I really don't. And I'm such a huge fan of him. He was talking about how, bro, like I just want to take a co-main event fight. Why do I have to keep fighting these main event fights? And I'm thinking to myself, like Zombie, like you're a main event fighter. You've been a main event fighter for the last decade. What are you talking about? Then the other thing he said was, hey, if I lose this fight, then I can just be another exciting fighter like Nate Diaz. And I'm like, Zombie, you've been an exciting fighter for the last decade. Like what are you talking about, bro? Like, so is he kind of excusing himself for this loss that's going to happen Saturday night? That's what I'm worried about. Because with Dan Ige, I think he's tough. I think he's durable. I think he hits hard. He's got a good ground game. Now, the blueprint's been laid out on how to beat Dan Ige. Julio Arce showed it, and Calvin Kattar showed it. And a guy with solid hands that can keep the fight standing can put it on him. And Zombie has those traits, man. Zombie can come out here and emulate somewhat of the Calvin Kattar game plan, but with his own little spin on things, And Calvin's a little bit more, Zombie's a little more well-rounded than Calvin. He's got that nasty submission game to go along with it. So, I mean, I'm not counting Zombie out at all. But then you hear the interview on the Ige side, and his wife just had their first son, and Ige is sacrificing time away from the son because his dream is to be a world champion. Like, those are the things I like to hear. So I lean towards Ige, but I am not confident at all, and I'm not ready to ride off the Zombie. And Zombie's the kind of guy that can surprise you when you least expect it. Right when you're counting him out, he's going to have a memorable knockout where he launches someone's head into the fifth row. He'll be the first guy to get a twister in UFC history. Zombie finished Dustin Poirier. Zombie is a legend of this sport, and he's got all my respect in the world. I slightly lean Ige because of those those reasons I mentioned, but let's see, because I ain't counting this guy out at all.
Yeah, man, it's a tough fight because I kind of suck at picking Dan Ige fights, and just because I do see like somewhat of a limited skill set. I mean, he's high percentage, man. I mean, his power is big, and he can grapple as well. Man, it's a tough fight because, look, I can see the damage adding up for Zombie. Maybe that is true, man. We have to come to the reality sometimes with some of our favorite fighters. Like, oh, man, the chin might be gone, man. Who knows? But, I mean, look, that is a realistic possibility here. I mean, Zombie has been fighting for a very long time. He's been taking damage for a very long time. And Ige is a lot fresher. And he might be more hungry. My concerns is, how do we know that Dan Ige is really prime time? Is he really ready for the go? What happens if this fight goes more than just a quick, first round knockout? Who's tougher down the stretch? Who's tougher when both guys are bloody? We don't know. I know he went 5 rounds with Calvin, but I did see a guy that it seems like if he knows things aren't going his way, that he's got no problem with shelling up and kind of, he'll flop to his back and things like that, which is, I guess smart in terms of, surviving and things like that. But, the reason I bring that up is if this becomes a dogfight, if this becomes a firefight down the stretch, I know for a fact one of them is not pulling guard and is not going to shell up and back up and drop to knees and things like
also,
that.
Also, Shaq, not to cut you off, but do you remember how like there was a little stretch there when Ige would gas badly in round 2 of every fight? Don't do that against Zombie.
Yeah, so what I'm getting is like I get it. It would seem that things are starting to trend towards Dan Ige's way, but this is where I come back to. I don't really consider him a prospect, but like there needs to be a certain amount done before we can really say Dan Ige's turn, is really, ready to be in the top 10. I mean, I know he knocked out Gavin Tucker, and if he knocks out Zombie that quick, then, props to him, then, there's nothing else, we could say. But my concern is if this becomes a back and forth dogfight, does Dan Ige have the ability to dig deep? I know he dug deep against Edson Barboza, but Daniel, I don't know if you know this, but Edson Barboza ain't exactly known for digging down deep. I mean, that's no offense to Edson. That's more so. That's not like due to. I'm not saying he's got a bad heart. That's just due to his physique, and he's he's an explosive striker. Like the dude's gonna, fatigue, things like that. But I think that's what I'd be more concerned of. I see it a 50-50 fight. I'm gonna go with Zombie because you picked Dan Ige. I'm say Zombie by like 3rd or 4th round knockout. But, I see, man, Zombie, man, it couldn't, man. If he gets knocked out in the 1st round, man, I might cry for real, man, because that'll be really sad. Ige is the type of guy to do that. Like, he's looking for that one, punch knockout. I mean, the dude's very short, very explosive, so I give him a lot of credit as well. But I think I kind of outlined where I see both guys having the advantages, so I'm going to go with Zombie. I think he is the underdog, right? I mean, Zombie's the underdog. It seems like they're buying that Ige Kool-Aid, but I get it, man. My boy Zombie kind of let everyone down that last fight.
The other thing I'm concerned about is that, now correct me if I'm wrong, but he stopped training at Fight Ready. I know he's still cool with the guys.
Oh, he's there.
He's in Arizona?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I like to hear. Because the Ortega fight, he didn't because the COVID travel restrictions.
Yeah. It was COVID, but not for this one.
COVID travel restrictions, he wasn't able to go there. So maybe we see that explosive Zombie we saw in the Moicano and Edgar fight. Dude, I would love nothing more to see that. And that's not because I have anything against Dan Ige. I think Dan Ige is the man. It's more so, hey, I'm a Korean Zombie fanboy, man. I mean, his first fight with Leonard Garcia to this day is one of the most exciting fights of all time, man. The Dustin Poirier fight.
I mean, you were there when he launched Moicano's head. In Greenville.
I brought out my catcher's glove. We tried to catch that head, you know what I mean? But
I was like, where is it?
Oh, it flew over my head, but no, like Zombie is the man. And you know what's interesting, Shaq? Let's let them know about this too. So Korean Zombie was headlining that card against Moicano, and guess who fought on the undercard? Dan Ige fought Kevin Aguilar. So it's amazing how they come full circle. 2 years later, Ige worked his way up to the main event spot with Korean Zombie.
Yeah, Ige had a severe ass whooping that night on Aguilar. That was brutal.
He was an underdog there too, interestingly. So Ige's paid his dues. Zombie's a legend, man. Let's see what happens. Because one thing I know is this fight will be exciting. Tell me the last Zombie fight that wasn't, So that's all I can say. Now, normally we do the fight to watch, fighter to watch, but we got to get out of here. We want to thank all our fans. Thank you guys so much for sticking with us, no matter the occasion, no matter the day, short notice, late notice, whatever the case may be. You guys are fucking amazing. Follow Shaq at MMA Genius 05. Follow me at Best Fight Picks. Subscribe to Half the Battle on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, all the places where we are available. We truly appreciate it. We'll be back next week for the next card as well. Shout out to our sponsor, Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com. Use that promo code BATTLE20 for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com, code BATTLE20. And guys, just thank you so much again. Everybody enjoy the fights. And until the next time, let's cash these bets.